Imagine a place where everything that ever happened to you, every moment of every day and every experience you've ever had, have all been recorded. A place where every input from any of your five senses is registered, stored, and is ready for future reference. Well, such a place does indeed exist, and it is not some dark room in an unmarked NSA building, if that's where your imagination is going. Nothing like that at all. This place exists within us, within all of us, and it is called the subconscious mind. Now, since some experiences in our life were more significant than others, more meaningful than others, some of the recordings our subconscious has made are more significant than others as well. Those experiences we perceived as positive and inspiring, these helped us form empowered thought patterns that enhanced our sense of value and worth. While experiences we perceived as difficult and painful, perhaps negative in nature, and even traumatic, these created fear-based thought patterns and limiting belief systems that filled our life with distress. But what if this vast collection of subconscious recordings and the mental patterns they created, what if they affected more than just the way we think, how we feel, or how we behave? What if they affected our health? After all, the impact of various mental patterns, such as stress, for example, on our health is well documented in scientific literature. Common knowledge. But what is yet to be common knowledge is that our subconscious mind is linked to our immune system, and therefore stress can also impair the functioning of this vital bodily system, which means that our ability to fight illness, like cancer, is compromised, and so is our ability to recover from it. In the words of David Spiegel, who is an MD, a psychiatrist, and a researcher at Stanford University, stress can adversely affect components of the immune system involved in fighting disease like cancer. An important statement. It is important because it suggests that by resolving the mental patterns within patients that cause stress, we can ensure the proper functioning of the immune system and enhance its ability to engage in the elimination of cancer cells. Do what it is designed to do. Keep in mind that cancer kills about 1 American every minute of every day. So this form of support to our immune system is significant. And while it is true, as someone mentioned to me earlier, that we are getting better and better at treating the physical body, this doesn't solve the problem. It only means we're getting better at managing the disease, managing it, not healing it, and not preventing it. Think about it. In treating patient's body only, what do? We disconnect the cancer patient from the cancer, as if to say this illness has nothing to do with you. Engaging patient's mind, treating the whole person, on the other hand, can increase positive medical results and save lives. So we're talking about including the mind, or I should better say the subconscious mind, in patient's treatment plan. But we first have to define or understand what is the mind. Well, most experts regard the mind to be the non-physical part of our being, the thinking, feeling I, that is somehow related but also seemingly separable from the body. And it's only thanks to researchers like Sigmund Freud that we can recognize this non-physical part of ourselves and acknowledge its two components, the conscious and subconscious mind, also known as the unconscious mind. The conscious mind, which is the part of your mind, by the way, that is listening to me right now, this part is logical and analytical, the tip of the iceberg. It helps us reason and judge, analyze, and criticize information. The subconscious mind, on the other hand, is our emotional mind, the vast body beneath the surface, the storehouse of our knowledge, memories, perceptions, and beliefs. The subconscious mind is also the part of our mind that regulates many of our bodily functions, and that include, in part, immune function. And its very nature, the nature of the mind, and its relationship to our body, to our illness, and to health, has intrigued researchers for decades. And so did the notion that mental and psychological strains can make us, or at least if we're honest, lab rats, more vulnerable to illness. And the research, in fact, which is still ongoing, gave birth to a whole new field of scientific study called psychoneuroimmunology, or PNI, the study of the interactions between psychological processes and the nervous and immune system in the human body. PNI study successfully mapped the connections between our brain and our immune system, and in doing so, found what for many non-medical practitioners like myself is considered to be the Holy Grail. It identified the path through which the mind, the non-physical part of ourselves, can affect a disease like cancer in the body. And with this knowledge in place, with this scientific validation, all that remained was to craft an effective method to engage the subconscious mind in order to influence the immune system and kick it into high gear in the fight against cancer. The good news is that we can do that now. The good news is we have that method at hand, and that method is hypnosis. Hypnosis allows us to bypass the conscious mind, access the subconscious mind, and tap into its connection to our physical well-being. Let me show you how it is done. This upside-down pyramid model was conceived by Stephen Parkhill, a noted hypnotist himself, and it beautifully illustrates what takes place when we resolve the root cause of patients' mental distress. The root cause can be any moment in time where an external event, something that happened to us in our life, have altered our self-perception, usually in a negative and limiting way, and usually during childhood. Using hypnosis, we can access the vast collection of our subconscious recordings, the vast collection of our experiences, and have the mind identify a moment in time, situation or event the mind associate with distress, a moment where a limiting thought pattern was formed. Based on this, once identified, we can have the adult, the patient, as who she or he is today, educate the younger part of themselves about the true meaning of their experience, the true context of their experience, and have the updated adult-like perception override the childlike, usually distorted perception that produced the distress, which based on the upside-down pyramid model means we remove the bottom can and collapse the whole structure. We resolve the root cause of distress or the patterns of distress, the root cause of trauma, and we collapse the distress that followed, the mental, physical, and psychological distress that followed, which to a cancer patient will mean an invigorated immune system and that their medical treatment is more likely to succeed. Which brings us to Jill, a former client, not a real name. Jill had her first bout with breast cancer when she was 35 years old. She was treated in one of Boston's finest hospitals, and after a few months of treatment was declared cancer-free, was sent home. She came to see me, it was 3 years later. Her breast cancer resurfaced, and this time it is spread. And she said to me, I always knew it's going to come back. I could just feel it. They fixed the inside of my body, but they didn't fix me. Using hypnosis, the adult Jill could then go back in time to a period of time her mind associated with her distress, a period of time where she witnessed a series of arguments between her parents. She was only 4 years old. Her parents argued about their different parenting styles. And you can imagine, indeed, they had her best interest in mind. But as a 4-year-old child, this is not what Jill heard at all. Jill heard conflict, negativity, and pain in her parents' tone of voice. And she heard their name mentioned in this context several times, mistakenly began to believe that she was the cause of these arguments, that she was the cause or the source of her parents' pain. Using hypnosis and a particular method called regression to cause, the adult Jill could identify the belief at the root of her distress. It said something like this. It said, I cause pain to those I love the most, and they will be better off without me in their world. This meant she was ready to give up. She didn't have it within her to undergo treatment again. Her will to live was diminishing. But using hypnosis, she recognized this deep-seated belief at the root of her distress, and she could educate then the younger part of herself about the true context of these arguments, help her recognize that the source of these arguments or the cause for these arguments was not negativity or pain in that respect, but rather how much her parents really loved her, how much they really cared. And this realization changed Jill's perception from one side to the other. It changed the meaning of those events, these series of arguments, from negative to positive. And it changed the way Jill thought about herself, about her value and worth. Fear was replaced with love, helplessness with empowerment, and Jill felt worthy of living, determined to push through another round of treatment. And based on a recent test, her body and immune system followed suit, and her treatment was declared successful. Now, I have to say that it is common for many patients, just like Jill, to feel, as I mentioned earlier, separated from their illness. There is this me place they talk about, an authentic part of them that no surgery knife can cut deep enough to get to, and no amount of chemotherapy or radiation can penetrate. A place which in my field of work is called the subconscious mind, a place we can now access through hypnosis and help patients become whole again. My hope is that going forward, we can all recognize, just like Jill, that the potential for recovery goes beyond simply submitting our body to treatment, and that our subconscious mind is our greatest ally in the recovery process. Harnessing its power through hypnosis can at best have transformative effect. And at worst, if you can call it that, it can help patients embrace their journey, lessen treatment side effect, and improve their quality of life. Thank you so much.